If I weren't around, you'd have right now 6 major wars going on. India would be fighting with Pakistan. You see what we just did yesterday with 2 nations that we're trading with. And during the trade, I said, I'm not going to do any trade deal unless you guys settle your differences. And we got it settled in 24 hours. I mean, they just announced it was settled, which was a tremendous thing. But Serbia, Kosovo is another one. We have many hotspots that were at war. I think a very big one was India and Pakistan, because you're talking about 2 nuclear nations.
Do you think Israel has done all it can do to avoid civilian casualties in Gaza?
Well, I think nobody's done anything great over there. The whole place is a mess. It'll get straightened out, but it's a mess. They have to get food and meantime, food and safety right now. And ultimately, look, Hamas did a horrible thing, and they paid a big price, but Hamas did a horrible thing. But I always said, when you get down to the last 20 or 10, they're down to 20. We got a lot of hostages out, and you helped us, by the way.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of hostages out over the last 6 months that I've been in. I've been in office for 6 months now. And these hostages have been, I mean, many of them have come to the Oval Office and they've thanked me so profusely. I said, you don't have to thank me. I did what I have to do. But I always said, when you get down to the final 20, they won't release them, because that's like their shield. Very unfair, and so something's going to have to be done. And, they were really unwilling to talk. But I've said that. You'll get down to the final 10 or 20. It turns out to be 20. I thought that would be the number. I said, they're not going to be dealing with us. And, you know, many of the hostages are now dead. You know that. And parents come up to me. A woman came up to me 2 weeks ago. She just wants her son back. And I said, how's he doing? My son's dead, sir, but he's with them. And we want the body. She wanted the body of this young boy, of her young, beautiful son, just as much as if he were alive. It was just as important. There was no difference. And it's a tragic situation, frankly. But we got a lot out. And now possibly the fight will have to be a little bit different, but they have totally changed now. They don't want to give hostages. Very unfair. You have 20 living people, in this case living. You have many dead people too that they want to get
a
out.
long time as well.
Yeah, they have 20 living people, and I told Israel, I told Bibi that you're gonna have to now maybe do it a different way. Ceasefire is possible, but you have to get it. You have to end it. You're talking about with Israel. You're talking about there, because we have many ceasefires going on. The whole world is. If I weren't around, you'd have right now 6 major wars going on. India would be fighting with Pakistan. You see what we just did yesterday with 2 nations that we're trading with. And during the trade, I said, I'm not going to do any trade deal unless you guys settle your differences. And we got it settled in 24 hours. I mean, they just announced it was settled, which was a tremendous thing. But Serbia, Kosovo is another one. We have many hotspots that were at war. I think a very big one was India and Pakistan, because you're talking about 2 nuclear nations. That was a very big one. And we get help from the UK. The Prime Minister's help. We have cases where we specifically need the help because somebody comes from here that you're aware of, and you know, when you come from a country, you can do things, and I call up the Prime Minister, and all of a sudden, he's able to do things. True also with other presidents and prime ministers. But we've done it. Nobody's ever done what we've done. We have 6 different major if you take a look at Rwanda and the Congo, Republic of the Congo, they've been fighting for 31 years, 8 million people dead. It was going on. Nobody could go to that part of Africa. They were being killed. If you even walked there, you're being killed with machetes. And it was a violent situation. And I was able to, they liked Trump. They wanted to make a trade deal with Trump. They wanted us to take their rare earth. They want to give us their rare earth. And I got to know the leader of the Congo. I got to know both of them indirectly. And I called him. I said, let's end the war. I don't want anything until you end the war. And we ended the war. As you know, the foreign ministers came up 2 weeks ago, and the leaders are going to be coming very shortly to Washington, Rwanda and Congo. I mean, that's another one that we did. So we've done a lot. It's an honor to do it. It's not hard for me to do it. And I use, not in all cases, but I use a combination of knowing them a little bit, or in some cases knowing them a lot. I knew, the leaders of Pakistan and India, I know them very well. And they're in the midst of a trade deal, and yet they're talking about nuclear weapons. I say, this is crazy. So I said, I'm not doing a trade deal with you guys. And they want the trade deal, they need it. I'm not doing a trade deal with you if you're going to have war. And that's a war that spreads to other countries. You'll get nuclear dust. We'll all get nuclear dust. When they start using nuclear weapons, that stuff blows all over the place and really bad things happen. So maybe we're being a little selfish when we want to save wars too. But we stopped a lot of wars, and it's a great honor to have done it.
Now let's talk about the deals the Trump administration has struck in recent days. Firstly, with Japan, a huge deal, the biggest struck yet until the EU deal. The European Union certainly talked a big game, but they seem to have capitulated in rather spectacular fashion.
You're known as a tough negotiator and deal maker. What is in front? And fair. And what is in front of us?
That's less important.
If we are successful, I think it would be the biggest deal each of us has ever struck. So I'm very much looking forward.
Ever struck by anybody.
And if this deal ends up being finalised, it gives the US pretty much all it wanted without the EU getting much in return. That is called a rebalance, according to the EU president.
I think the president is right. We have a 50 to 50% chance to strike a deal. And indeed, it is about rebalancing. So you can call it fairness, you can call it rebalancing. We have a surplus, the United States has a deficit, and we have to rebalance it. We have an excellent trade relation. It's a huge volume of trade that we have together.
Ursula von der Leyen, the EU president, Josh, talked a big game before this agreement, but it certainly looks like a capitulation. You look at the details that have been released, it is a massive win for the US.
You know, Rita, Donald Trump is the only man that I've ever seen who flies over to Scotland, the home of golf, to play some rounds of golf with his family, to usher in a new Trump-affiliated golf course redesign. And he comes home bagging one of the greatest, most historic trade deals in the history of modern commerce. I mean, this is truly historic stuff. And you know, whether it's really getting the better of Ursula von der Leyen and the European Union bureaucrats, whether it's the massive trade deal that the United States just reached with Japan about a week and a half ago. We had had a deal with the Philippines in the interim. That kind of flew under the radar. By the way, holding trade aside just for a second there, he also reached a ceasefire deal between Thailand and Cambodia. I mean, this is just like, it's just a rapid fire, win after win after win. I mean, I have never experienced, frankly, this much winning from a president in my life. I don't know if there's always things where you can do better. There's Epstein, there's some judicial losses, fine. But this president is really, really, really on fire at this moment. He is hitting his first year swing and then some. And by the way, going back just briefly to the trade issue, Rita, all of the critics, all of the president's various neoliberal critics, both right, left, center, all in between there, they said he's going to destroy the economy. Nothing like that has happened. Literally nothing like that has happened. The inflation rate has barely budged. Meanwhile, massive revenue is coming into the U.S. Treasury. And most importantly, he is fulfilling his America First campaign promise of trying to reshore manufacturing, supply chains there. It's all working according to plan. And frankly, I think the people who were saying that he would tank the economy, we would go immediately diving into a recession. I think it's probably not too soon to say that the president probably deserves an apology from some of these folks.
I don't think an apology will be forthcoming. They have got so many of these doomsday predictions wrong about his policies, and he just keeps rolling along.